What are you saying? So, I thought I'd start this video off with even more fitness. I'm now strolling on my way to the Open in Norwich. So I'm about to go and watch PCA. So another bodybuilding show. One of our clients, Gemma, is competing. So obviously, oh my god, I'm actually knackered. So yeah, obviously we're going to go and watch that. So I'm excited to see how she gets on. So yeah, I'm just going to film it. Bodybuilding, fitness, that's what we're about. Let's do it, let's have a watch. Yeah, so we're now here at the PCA, all on my own, feeling a bit lonely. I'm trying to find some friends, but yeah, I feel a bit left out. I've got my chicken and rice. I'm just on Dairy Dunks at the moment, so yeah, you know. But yeah, I'm just a Gemma, she's looking really good. So let's see how much fun we can get. Hopefully get a load of footage. Let's see it, let's enjoy. PCA, different show. I don't know. That's the question. We'll have a look. Okay, so that is a wrap on the PCA. Well done to Gemma. Absolutely smashed it. Really proud of her. She's done really well. Really tough class. So yeah, held her own. Done really well. So chuffed with that. Yeah, it's a good show. I mean, personally, I do prefer the UK DFBA over the PCA. No hate, but I just feel like PCA is really rushed. I've watched 2 shows now, and the guy, geez, the guy on the mic, what's his problem? He's always so arsey. Like, I swear he's always in a bad mood. What is his problem? He's like shouting at the competitors, like, get over here! What are you doing? Stand over here! Honestly, if you've seen a show, comment, because you will know. You will know. But I just snacked on a cheeky little, guilty as, birthday cake carb killer. Why a birthday cake carb killer, I hear you ask? Well, today is our birthday technically, but obviously you're watching this in the future, so the birthday's kind of gone, but that must mean that you've watched our birthday video. But if you haven't, make sure to scroll down and give it a watch, because it's so sick and you will get very emotional. If you're a long-time follower, aka a whole year follower, that makes sense. If you are a long-time follower, then you will know, like, honestly, it's going to touch you in places you wish your ex did. That's all I'm saying. But it's so good. But we're now home, so let's talk about my prep, and let's talk about how to become a champion. Right, now that the PCA is done, let's talk about why we're here, why we're doing this video, how to be a champ. So the reason I wanted to do this video was just to run through my prep, what I'd done, everything I'd done, cut it all down for you so you know what I did, basically. Obviously, you can watch this, you could take it away and go, I'm going to do everything that's got done and then I'll be a champion. Not the case. Obviously, what works for me is going to be different for you. After getting loads of questions of, what are your macros? Everyone wants to know what your macros are. Everyone wants to know what you've done for your training. So I thought, why not? Let's do a video and explain what I've done, and then just explain where I'm going now, how I'm feeling, and how prep is, like the real side of prep, because it got to the end of the Brotherhood shred and it got really hard to film, it got really hard to keep that motivation going. So before we start, what we're going to have to do is dive in to the Bible. Now this bad boy here has been with me since I've done my first ever competition, which was a men's physique competition when I was 19, 20. So it's been with me a good sort of 5 years. But what I would say is, to anyone who's doing a prep or anyone who's thinking about doing a prep, write it all down. Literally write everything down. In here, I've literally got everything written down, from what foods I was eating, cardio I was doing, calories, everything. The whole point of doing a prep and the whole point of competing is to learn, and if you're doing another one, the whole point is to better yourself from the first one that you've done. So you want to write everything down so that you know if you need to change anything, what you need to change, or what you've done that you can do differently next time. So like I say, the first ever competition is all written down in here. The second competition is all written down in here, and the one that I've just done is all written in this bad boy. So if anyone gets hold of this, this is bloody top secret, I'm telling you. So yeah, but yeah, so I'd write everything down. So what we're going to do is we're going to go through, we're going to start with training. So training wise, training didn't really change for me, and I would recommend not changing your training if you are in a deficit. So a lot of people think, oh okay, as soon as I'm in a deficit I need to do higher reps and that's going to tone me up. It's not. You need to keep your heavy lifts in. You need to keep pushing those heavy weights, because that's what's going to keep hold of that muscle. When you're in a deficit and when you're on prep, you're not going to build any muscle from that 14 weeks. As soon as you start that 14 weeks, you will not build any muscle. So you're just looking to maintain the muscle that you've got. So when it comes to training, keep your training the same as what you would in your off season or when you're bulking. Keep trying to lift those heavy weights. Obviously, as your energy levels drop, training's going to get harder. So for me, I was able to keep my compound lifts in, and to be fair, when I say compound lifts, I mean squats, bench, deadlift. It's mainly the squats and the deadlifts, and to be fair, the bench as well. That was where I had to just get to a point where I was like, do you know what, I can't keep doing these just because it's wiping me out for the rest of the session. So I found, I think I got to about, I think I was about 8 weeks out, maybe, no, it was about 6 weeks out, where deadlifts were just, the weight was just dropping every week. Squats was just so uncomfortable, like, and I just found I wasn't getting enough out of my muscles. I was just getting knackered. So it was just killing my central nervous system, but it wasn't actually stimulating my muscles. So as you get closer to that show day, you're going to find, because your body's knackered and because you're on low calories, your central nervous system's just going to burn out so quickly. So for me, I found, like I say, doing a deadlift, was I actually getting any muscular stimulation? No, not really. So it was more just killing my central nervous system, and then for the rest of the session I was just dead. So I found taking those out and just maybe putting a variation in that's not as hard. So instead of doing a conventional deadlift, I may have done, say, a hyperextension or maybe a straight leg deadlift, and that wasn't as taxing on the central nervous system. So, but like I say, training, apart from the last week, that was where it changed, and I was just going through the motions just because nothing's really going to change in the last week. So I was just sort of doing upper lower sessions. Stopped training legs the week before the show, and that made a massive difference this time. Big recommendation for that. So the show before, I trained legs all the way up to the show, whereas this show I stopped training legs on the Sunday before, and yeah, my legs came in so much, because obviously your legs hold a lot of water, and especially when you're training them, they're going to hold more water. So yeah, stopping training them before, like, the lines were just ridiculous. So it was, yeah, I definitely recommend that. Next up, cardio. What do I do for my cardio? So cardio, I basically just, I think I started with like 3 times a week. 3 times a week, half an hour, and I would do it by roughly the calories. I wasn't really too strict on, I know some people do it by, right, you have to burn so many calories, or you have to do so many steps. I wasn't worried about steps, I was just doing the cardio, but I'd keep track every week of the cardio. And this is the important thing about prep. This is why you need to get yourself a Bible, because you need to keep track every week of every little thing you do, so that every little change that you need to make, you can make, because you just need to know every single thing that you're doing, because if something's different one week, that could make a difference to how much fat loss you're going to have. So you need to keep track of that. So yeah, like I say, so I started with sort of 3 times a week, and then near to the end it was up to 6 times a week, and they were all half an hours. They were mainly on the Stairmaster. I was doing spins, but then it sort of got to a point where I was like, one, I just didn't have the energy to shout at the class whilst doing spin, and two, it was more where you kind of lose 5 minutes from a warm-up and a 5-minute cool-down, so you're not really technically doing half an hour. So I sort of stopped doing that and just done, it was mainly, like I say, the Stairmaster, and then I did put some HIIT in nearer to the end just to get those last little bits of fat off, but even with that, that was very similar to like the compound lifts, so the HIIT was really just draining me. So once I finished the HIIT, I was like, geez, yeah, that was just more tiring than the Stairmaster, even though the Stairmaster was half an hour, and it was like plodding along. I'd rather do that than the HIIT, just because, yeah, it wasn't as tiring, and I could just about, well, I say it wasn't as tiring, I could just about get through it. It was still bloody tiring. But yeah, that was cardio really, nothing really too fancy with the cardio. Moving on, the big one, nutrition. This is why you're all here. Let's be honest, this is why you've all clicked this video. Not just because I'm goddamn sexy, but for the nutrition side of things. So, nutrition-wise, let's start by macros. How did I calculate my macros to start with? It's all written in the diary, like I say. What I done was, with this time doing the competition, I knew that I wanted to get down to a certain weight, so I had a weight goal, which really helped me. So instead of just going, right, I'm just going to get shredded, I knew that I kind of needed to get down to a certain weight, which I knew I would be shredded for at that weight anyway. So I had that in mind. So what I done was I calculated my macros exactly the same way as I did in the video how to calculate your macros. If you haven't seen it, flick through the playlist of the Brotherhood Shredding and it is in there, and it just, like I say, just runs through how to calculate your macros. And I started with quite a big sort of drop, I suppose. I started by dropping by 500 calories. Yeah, just changed my calories as and when I needed. So I judged, like I say, I'd get to the end of the week, look at my weight. If my weight's dropped, then I'd probably just keep things the same. If it hadn't, then I'd look at my calories and sort of go, okay, do I drop my calories or do I increase my cardio? So I'd always run it by, if I was feeling hungry, I wouldn't drop my calories, I'd just increase my cardio. If I was feeling like I was absolutely shattered and I didn't want to do any cardio and I just didn't have time to do more cardio, I'd drop my calories a little bit. So as you can see, I'm going to pop it on the screen. So I started on 2,800 calories, 200 grams of protein, 365 grams of carbs, and then 60 grams of fat. And then, like I say, as you can see, as we scroll through, you can just see that I'd either drop my calories, or my calories would stay the same, or I would increase my cardio a little bit. So yeah, as you can see by the end of it, 2,200 calories, 200 grams of protein, 240 grams of carbs, and then 50 grams of fat. And then the cardio, like I said, was 6 times a week. So calories weren't really ridiculously low. So here's the thing, when it comes to calories, and when it comes to my calories, and when it comes to prep, or my prep, and not trying to sound big-headed, but I genuinely believe that this is the reason, or this makes the difference between doing well and not doing well. So when it comes to foods, and you're on prep, you have to think of your food as, this is for, you're eating for what you're doing. Okay, so you're not eating for enjoyment when you're on prep. You're eating for what you're doing. So I find for myself, I'm very good at just switching on and just going, okay, I need to eat this. And then I can go 3 hours and then, oh, okay, I'm eating again. I won't be, I've eaten like all my meals already and it's only 11 o'clock. Like that doesn't, I don't do that. I just go, okay, this is your meal, eat this. If you're still hungry, you're still hungry. Carry on through the day. Okay, so one of the big things, like I say, is your timings of food. So I genuinely think this is a massive, massive thing to be successful when it comes to bodybuilding and when it comes to a show. So, or when it comes to doing your prep. So timing of food. Okay, so the way that I would time my meals was I would have most of my carbs around my workouts. So my 2 meals before my workout were big carb meals, and then my meal after my workout was a big carby meal. So that's 3 meals there. And then the other 3 meals were less carbs, more protein, higher fats. Okay, or depending on obviously macros, if my fats would allow that. But that is the way that I would do it. And like I say, at the end of the day, you are training for this competition. So if you're hungry through the rest of the day, you're hungry through the rest of the day. It doesn't matter, because the whole reason you're eating is so that your training sessions are going to be on point for when you compete. Yeah, and that is one of the big things that I sort of see people sort of. It's fine if you're going on holiday. It's fine if you're just doing a sort of diet and you want to lose fat. You can still lose fat. You don't have to have perfect macro timing if you're just doing it for that. But like I said, at the end of the day, your life now, if you're on prep, your life is this show. Like, everything you do is for this show. So your food has to be for this show. So like I say, like, I would have 6 meals a day. I'd eat once, and then I'd wait 2-3 hours, and then I'd eat again. And then I'd wait 3 hours, and then I'd eat again. And I wouldn't be, oh, I can't eat now because I've got this to do. No, I'm eating now. That's what I've got to do because I'm doing it for the show. Or, oh, look, I've saved all my calories for later. I genuinely don't think you can do that because, like I say, your workouts are going to be crap. And that is what you're eating for, is for your workouts and for the show. So if you're saving your calories till the end of the day, I don't personally, like I say, for some people it might work, but for me, I personally believe that if you're doing it for a competition, you have to eat when you're meant to eat. Like, that's why it's hard. That's why it's a bodybuilding show and it's not a holiday, because it's tough. Like, you've just got to do it. And the reason, so for me, like, I basically ate the same foods for the whole 14 weeks. So the reason that I would do this is so that you know how your body is digesting foods, and then you can use that nearer to the show. So obviously when it comes to show day, you don't want to be eating food that's going to bloat you or going to make you feel crappy. Like, you want to be eating food that's, yeah, that you know works. And then, same again, here's the big thing. When it comes to foods, like, you have to be, same as tracking how much weight you're losing and how much cardio you're doing, like I say, you have to track everything. So when it comes to food, you have to weigh everything to the gram. Like, there was not one thing that I didn't weigh. The only thing I probably didn't weigh was, say, coffee or pre-workout. That was the only thing I didn't weigh. I was weighing my scoops of protein. I was weighing it to the gram. If it was a gram over, I'd take a bit out. I was weighing lettuce. I was weighing lettuce before I went to bed. So I was having, I think it was 150 grams of lettuce. I would weigh lettuce. Same again to the gram. If it was a gram over, I'd take it out. I wouldn't have it. It would be to the gram of lettuce. Every little bit of veg I had, like, and same again. I know there's some people that might say, oh, okay, veg, or like with sauces and stuff. I wasn't really having sauces. I was just having the 0-calorie sauces, and then I cut them out nearer to the show. But okay, I wasn't tracking those. But like I say, veg. Every little bit of veg I was weighing. Like, there wasn't one thing that I did not weigh. And that is same again, like, I genuinely believe that if you want to do well in a bodybuilding show or in a physique show, or if you want to have a good prep or a successful prep, you have to weigh everything. Everything has to be to the point, because that's what's going to make the difference. And yeah, it's shit, and yeah, it's hard, and it sucks, like, geez, like, bloody weighing broccoli. You've got to do it if you want to be, like, and I honestly, every prep that I've done, I've weighed everything. So yeah, like I say, nutrition is the big one, but that's what I've done for my nutrition. I would recommend doing that. Even though it sucks, do that. Eat when you have to eat. Don't, like, food isn't your friend, like, when you're on prep. You just have to eat it. Like, if it's bland, it's boring. Get on with it. It doesn't matter. If you're really hungry but you've literally just eaten, suck it up, just drink some water. Like, you just got to get on with it. So yeah, and like I say, you have to weigh everything. Weigh everything. Don't mess about with it. Don't give a chance to, yeah, ruin that. Just weigh it. Okay, so that is nutrition done and dusted. Let's move on. Posing. This is very important. Posing is so important. For me, I don't know, I feel like I slacked with practicing posing this year. I feel like the year before I was a lot more on it when it came to practicing posing, whereas this year I felt really, really like, I don't know, I didn't practice enough. But it was more the fact that I was just knackered. Like, I actually hated posing this year, whereas the year before I really enjoyed it. And when it came to posing, I didn't really have much time because obviously we've been doing the Legacy Bros. I think time-wise it was really hard this year with work, Legacy Bros, obviously the online coaching, prepping food. Like, time is really hard when you're on prep. You haven't got much time when you've got your cardio to do, you've got your training, then you've got your prepping your food, and then you're working, and then, yeah, it was just really hard with time. So I was posing on my break at work. So I would have half an hour break and I'd literally eat really quickly for 10 minutes, and then the next 20 minutes I would use, we've got an aerobics room at work which is quite handy, and both me and Gareth would use that on our breaks, and we'd spend 20 minutes going through the mandatory poses and going through the routine. So, and that was knackering because then you're right straight back into work, and it was like, geez. So I actually hated posing, but yeah, like I say, I feel like I could have done more of it, but at the same time, I don't know whether I've just got like a good sort of knack with it or a good eye, but yeah, I'm not being big-headed again, but I genuinely think I am quite good at posing, and I've sort of nailed certain poses. I'm not saying I'm the best, I still think there's a lot of work that I could do on certain poses, but yeah, my poses, I genuinely think that's what done me so well this year. Like, I'm a short guy, but certain poses that I hit actually made me look really tall, so that was pretty much a win in every aspect of life. But no, so like I say, like, just because of the way that I posed made me look taller and it made me look bigger, and I think I had a good advantage anyway because I was the top end of the weight class, so I knew that I was going to be, looks wise, I was going to look bigger because I was sort of right at the top end of that weight class. But because of the way that I posed, I genuinely think that made me look even bigger, and because I managed to get my conditioning really well, I genuinely think that's why I done so well. Yeah, posing is massive, and posing is one of those things that should probably be prioritised over everything with your nutrition, because that is, like I say, you could have a really, really good physique, but if you can't pose, you're not going to stand a good chance. And unfortunately, like, a lot of people, you look round and and I know it, before I go on stage, I look round and I'm like, geez, like, these guys, they knock me out of the water. But then I get on stage, and it's only when I look back at the videos that I go, it's just because, like, they couldn't hit certain poses, and I could. So yeah, like I say, there might have been guys that actually looked better than me, but because they couldn't pose properly, they couldn't show it off. So yeah, posing is massive. And I, like, for me personally, this is where, when it comes to bodybuilding, this is the one thing that frustrates me a little bit, is the posing routine. Okay, so for me, I feel like that minute is your minute to go, right, let's make something epic that everyone's going to remember, and everyone's going to be like, whoa. Like, when they come away, even if you don't place, when they come away, they will go, oh yeah, but do you remember that guy's routine? How cool was that? So for me, I feel like that minute is like your minute. That's your time to shine. And I don't know, it frustrates me when people go and just have some music playing in the background and then just hit like your mandatory poses that you've literally just done while you've been on stage. I think, like, hit those like sick, like, Frank Zane poses, hit those Bob Paris poses, like the old school classic bodybuilding poses, like, and make a routine out of it, like, make it go with the music, and make it flow and make it entertaining. That's why I got into bodybuilding, because, like, it's the art, and it's like the performance, and that is your time to perform and show off your, like, yeah, your creativity. So yeah, I think, like, if you're doing a posing routine, like, honestly, like, really put some effort into it and make it, like, yeah, because, like I say, even if you don't place, people will remember you for that routine. So yeah, posing, like I say, posing's up there. Posing's big. Moving on, peak week. When it comes to peak week, this year I didn't change anything. I know when it comes to peak week, a lot of people have all these crazy voodoo ideas, but at the end of the day, when it comes to peak week, guys, if you're not ready 2 weeks out, you're not ready. Like, it doesn't matter what you do on peak week. If you're not ready 2 weeks out, you won't be ready for the show. So all I'd say for peak week is get stupidly lean before. Get stupidly lean 2 weeks out. The reason I didn't do anything for peak week was, one, because I felt I was actually really chuffed with the way I was looking anyway. And for me, my aim was to get as ridiculously lean as possible. So I wasn't too worried about coming in looking full. I just wanted to be stupidly lean. So that's why I didn't really change anything. The only thing I'd done, I didn't touch my food. I'd changed certain foods to because I manipulated my water a little bit, but yeah, I didn't really change my foods. I just cut out the foods that I might use water with. And that was literally just like a day or two before the show. And then I just sort of cut down my veg a day or two before the show as well, just so I wasn't feeling bloated and too full. All I'd done was just gradually reduce my cardio, so I feel like that kind of filtered me out anyway, because even though I wasn't increasing my carbs, I still had the same amount of carbs, but I was doing less, so the glycogen was kind of going to my muscles. But for me, like, it got to the night before, and fair play, like, massive thanks to Ricky, my brother, because I remember sort of saying to him, like, yeah, 2 nights before, and I remember saying to him, I was like, mate, I don't know if to carb load or not, like, and in my head I was going to, and I was genuinely, that night I was like, right, tomorrow I'm going to carb load. But I was like, I just feel like I look where I want to look, and he was like, well, don't change it then. And sometimes, like, that's where it's good to have the coach, because sometimes you're going to question yourself, and I just needed that level head, and I think I knew in my head, like, I don't need to change anything. If I want to look like that, I want to look like that. There's no point in changing anything. But it was really handy, and like, obviously Ricky's got a really good eye anyway, so yeah, massive thanks again. Like, Ricky's fucking saved me through this. On the day, I had, I think it was 2 bagels in the morning with some eggs, and they were like dry bagels, and then I had some chicken and a couple of rice cakes before I weighed in, and then I weighed in, and then I was just snacking on rice cakes, jam and peanut butter. And then, this is the one, pumping up. So when it came to pumping up, my foods, I'm going to give away my secret for this one. The foods that I would use for pumping up, I would have some sweets, so I had like the Tangtastics, just for the sugars. A pre-workout, I have like some ready salted crisps just as I'm pumping up. And the salt, try this as well, if you are to train, try having like a pinch of salt before you train. You'll have a really good pump off it. And that was, I'd really honestly recommend having like some ready salted crisp or something. Obviously you get the carbs in there as well, but the salt just really helps you pump up, and your veins just start popping. So. Okay, so next thing I want to talk about, I know this video is going to be quite long, but I genuinely think this is some good info for if you're looking to compete, or if you have competed, or if you just want to be an absolute champ. Moving on to how easy people think prep is. Now this is one thing that really frustrates me, and this is one thing, if you are looking to compete, you'll find hard that people don't understand it, because that's where that's where anger issues come in, and that's where you nearly throttle someone. People don't understand it. If they haven't done prep, or if they haven't seen somebody go through prep, they're not going to understand why you're eating certain foods, why you're so snappy, why you're so tired, and they'll say stupid things like, oh yeah, but it's all easy though, isn't it? All you're doing is cutting your food. No, it's not, Barbara! It's not easy! I'm tired! Every time I do a show, I always get the same thing of, oh yeah, man, I think I'm gonna compete. No, you're not, like, you need to think about if you're ready. Like, not everyone can do it, and not everyone should do it, and it's not for everyone. Prep is not easy. I personally don't think it should be easy. I think if your prep's easy, you're not doing it right. Personally, because at the end of the day, bodybuilding like is so unhealthy. To get to that stage, you have to go through hell. And for me, like, things that happen to me, things that happen to like my body, like mentally, physically, emotionally. The last 6 weeks, I done nothing but prep. Like, I didn't socialise, I didn't go out, like, I didn't meet up with friends. All I done was work, gym, eat, sleep, cook. Like, that was all I done. Just because I was so fatigued and I was so tired. Like, I didn't have the energy to talk. And if you work with me and you're watching this, like, obviously you know that, like, the longest I could hold a conversation was like a minute, and that was it. Like, I just had nothing. Like, and like I say, 6 weeks I genuinely did just lock myself away, and all I done was prep, and it drove me mental. But I had to do it. Like, most days nearest the end, walking up the stairs was hard. The last week I had a pre-workout to teach a class. I was a massive arsehole to my family and my friends. Generally was a horrible person. I've heard people say before, oh, I hate him when he's on prep, he's a right, like, moody person. But it's true, like, I was horrible. Yeah, sex drive, 0. My sex drive literally, boom. Because your testosterone drops, your sex drive is gonna drop, and like, my sex drive dropped, like, very badly. And even now, so it's been 4 or 5 weeks since the show, like, it's still not back up. And I felt dizzy, like, I felt really dizzy when I'd stand up. Okay, so moving on, let's talk about the mental side of it, which I think is a massive thing, and Gareth's looking at sort of doing a series on sort of mental health when it comes to fitness anyway, so I'm not going to go too crazy on this, but just from my point of view, how I felt mentally and how I genuinely think it's going to make other people feel. Yeah, mentally, prep will ruin you, mentally. Before I started prep this year, that was the best I've been with food. I think once you get into fitness, you're always going to be quite cautious of food, and you're always going to think about food from a fitness point of view. And that's why I was a bit unsure whether to prep or not, but I thought, no, fuck it, I'll go for it. And if anything, it's put me back, and it has ruined my relationship with food again. Yeah, mentally, like, the last few weeks, all I was doing was thinking about food. And even now, after prep, it's been 5 weeks, I'm still struggling with food. And I think I've got a long sort of road ahead of me of struggling with food for a while. At the moment, I sort of binged the week after, which I was okay with. So me and Gareth went for a Cosmos, which is like an all-you-can-eat restaurant, and both of us ate until we felt sick. And like, when I say felt sick, I think Gareth threw up, and I was stood over the toilet, and I was like, shit, I'm actually gonna puke. Even now, as soon as I start eating something bad, that's it, like, I can't stop. And then, same again, I'll eat until I feel sick. And it's annoying me because I'm like, dude, like, just stop, you're full. But then, I just keep going. And then, like I say, I feel crappy the next day, and I feel guilty the next day. And it's just, like I say, my relationship with food is in a crappy way at the moment, and it is frustrating me. But it is all that mental side of it. Okay, so we're nearly there. So moving on, what I've learned from this prep. As good as a Bible is, and as good as like a plan is, you can give yourself a rough plan, but you can never actually plan your prep to the end. Like, you can't sit down and go, right, in 14 weeks I'm going to go here, and I'm going to do this, and then I'll be there. Because things change as you go. And it's like, you kind of have to just, like I say, weigh yourself every day, look at yourself every day. You have to do those things to keep an eye on like your progress and if you are going in the right direction. A good way to think about it, so if you've got a recipe for a cake and it says, right, put it in the oven for 25 minutes. You put it in for 25 minutes, then you pull it out, you put the knife in and it's not done. Would you then go and eat that cake? So same with the prep. Prep says, okay, this is what I need to do. But if you get 2 weeks out and you're still not ready, you can't go by the recipe. Yeah, another thing I've learned is the work is done way before the prep starts. And what I mean by that is, when you're on prep, you're not building any muscle. So if you are looking to compete and if you are looking to prep, you need to be bloody sure that you are ready for it. And what I mean by that is, like, you can't just train for 6 months and go, oh yeah, I'm going to do a competition and then try and cut down. Like, when you cut down, that's when you'll see how much muscle you really have got. So make sure, like, you've been training, and when I say training, like, you've been training freaking hard. And what I mean by that is, try to build strength. So try and get strong. If you're just starting out, don't even think about cutting for a good, I'd probably say 2 years. I would genuinely say, if you are starting out, do not think about cutting for a good 2 years. I would just try and build as much mass as possible and just get strong. One more thing that I've learned, and I think this is really important to take away, is make the most, if you are doing a prep, make the most of everything when you're not on prep. I've definitely learned, like, if I'm going out and I'm out for the day and there's like, oh, there's a bit of cake that I fancy, have that bit of cake. For me, being that lean is just not worth it. So, well, it is for the show, but for the way that I felt, it's just not worth it. So, yeah, I definitely think make the most of those little things. Like, if your family's going out for a meal, don't worry about it. If you're going out for a meal, just make it work. Like, unless you are on prep, that is the only time I'd say skip a meal out with the family, or skip a meal out with friends, or skip a night out. Don't miss anything in life, guys. Unless you've got to do it for the prep. Like, if you're just doing it to get ready for a holiday, or if you're just doing it to feel better about yourself, enjoy life. So let's sum this video up, guys. I know this has been a really long video. I hope that you've learnt a lot from this. One thing I want you to take away from this is, you don't have to, like I say, if you want to diet, you don't have to diet like I did for the show. If you're just looking to lose a bit of weight, or just feel a bit healthier, or diet down a little bit for a holiday, it doesn't have to be miserable, and you can do it so it's fun, so you can make it fit your macros, and I genuinely think that's the best way to do it. The diet that works is the one that's sustainable. But for me, from here, my plans now are to get back on with the Legacy Bros, get back to enjoying life. In regards to competing, I have been offered a place in the finals in October. I'm not going to do it this year, just because, like I said, mentally it's ruined me. Or mentally, more the fact that mentally I wasn't ready for it. So my plan was never to go to the finals. My plan was just to do this show. Obviously I wanted to do really well. I didn't plan on doing the finals, and I'd rather go and go into the finals knowing that I want to be here, instead of just doing it because, I might as well do it because I've been invited. So I'm going to have this year, the rest of this year, of just sort of gradually bulking up. I want to try and get as strong as I've ever been. So by the end of this year, I want to be the strongest I've ever been. And then next year, I will do another show. I'm going to do another show next year. It's going to be later in the year. I'm going to look at sort of August, September time. But I'm going to do those shows with the aim of going to the finals and with the aim of going to the Worlds. So I'm going to literally, that is my plan, that is the goal, is to go all the way. I want to win the show. I want to win the overall. I want one of those trophies, and then I want to get to the finals, and then I want to win the finals. I want to go to Worlds. That's what I'm saying. But yeah, until then, I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, smash the thumbs up button. If you haven't already, make sure to subscribe, because there's going to be so many more videos and so much more fun stuff, because we're back to normal now and we have some energy. But yeah, like I always say, thank you so much for the love, thank you so much for the support. But yeah, until next time guys, lots of love, peace out, see you on the other side.